Coming up, the latest on strong storms moving through the mountains.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Some nasty storms have been moving across the mountains this evening on this First Alert Weather Day. First Alert meteorologist Eric Dean joins us now with more on what to expect overnight and some heavy rain falling here in Hazard right now, Eric.
That's right, Steve. Take a look here at some of the storm reports over the past 6 hours. We have some hail reports over towards portions of Breathitt County and north and west of Jackson. But you see these little areas right here shaded in green. That's where you have some storm damage being picked up. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and put the information up here throughout eastern Kentucky. We've had 14 reports so far over the past 6 hours. So we'll take a look at those coming up later on, see exactly what that consists of. Here's live pinpoint Doppler radar right now. You can see that line of showers and thunderstorms pushing through eastern Kentucky. We'll go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. Here's Pikeville, here's Hazard. You can see that line pushing through. You can see the lightning count sitting at 79. Here's a look at the WYMT tower cam, or there was the WYMT tower cam, showing the rain pushing through right now. Temperatures right now in the 60s and 70s. We're at 73 in Harlan, 10 cooler in Hazard, 63 is the current temperature in Jackson. Now the First Alert Weather Day continues throughout the evening hours. Storm chances will continue. Main threat, heavy wind, hail, and vivid lightning. I'll have your complete First Alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thanks. As FEMA deadlines approach for February flood victims, it's important to know what you need to apply for aid. Knott County Attorney Tim Bates says it's important to have the proper documentation, like your Social Security number and insurance coverage. There is an appeal process if you are denied funding from FEMA. Bates says you will have 60 days from the date of the declaration letter to file a written appeal.
Basically needs to have all your documentation in it, your pictures, your estimates from contractors, and just a letter that kind of says, I feel like this decision is inaccurate or wrong, and here's the reasons why.
There are multiple ways to submit your FEMA application. You can go in person to a disaster recovery center. You can go online to disasterassistance.gov, call the FEMA helpline, or by downloading the FEMA app. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife says the body of a Whitley County man missing since Sunday has been found. 37-year-old Matthew Strickland was last seen when he saved a young girl from drowning in the Cumberland River the day of his daughter's baptism. While the Whitley County coroner has not confirmed the identity of the body, friends and family believe it is Matthew. Police are investigating an officer-involved shooting in Madison County. It happened outside of Walmart in Berea. They say an officer fired into a car after a driver tried to back into him. Police were investigating a stolen car when it happened. 2 men and 1 woman were inside the car. Police tell us they were both taken to a nearby hospital. The officer involved had minor injuries and has since been released from the hospital. Berea police say they'll be filing charges against the people in the car. A London man faces several charges after a chase in Knox County. Troopers say they tried to stop a truck traveling north on Kentucky 229 after it cut off another vehicle. The driver did not stop, and once the truck hit a dead end on Horse Hollow Road, the driver took off into the woods. He was later found hiding near a creek bank. Alex Smallwood was arrested and is facing several charges. He's being held in the Knox County Detention Center. More than 20 kids were taken to the hospital after a school bus crash in Rockcastle County. It happened on South Wilderness Road in Mount Vernon. State police say a pickup truck driven by 76-year-old Ronald McClure of Mount Vernon collided with the bus, which was driven by 63-year-old Carolyn Holt of Orlando, Kentucky. Police say 23 kids were taken by another bus to Rockcastle Regional Hospital for evaluation. Both drivers and a bus monitor also went to the hospital. Police say there were no serious or life-threatening injuries. Today, some students at Rowan County High School walked out of class in protest, calling for the resignation of Principal Jordan Mann. Mann is accused of failing to act on multiple complaints about the conduct of former girls soccer coach Andrew Zahiri, who was sentenced to 22 years in prison for production of child pornography. Grayson Passmore heard from community members who are calling for change.
No! Tuesday, students walked out of Rowan County High School chanting, "No more man." The protest comes after new court documents allege school principal Jordan Mann and former soccer coach Andrew Zahari exchanged inappropriate text during a professional development training in 2022.
Our kids deserve better than this.
According to his plea agreement, Zahari sexually assaulted a minor student throughout the course of a school year. Back in May of 2023, we first reported on a civil lawsuit filed by the victim and her family against the school district, including Mann, Zahari, and former superintendent John Maxey, for failing to investigate the sexual abuse claims. But it's these new court documents filed into record on April 22nd as part of the ongoing lawsuit that seem to have sparked this community outrage. The court filings come out of a December 2024 civil suit deposition. The court notice seeks more information regarding the allegations from students, the school's guidance counselor, and Moorhead Mayor Laura White Brown of reports made to Mann and other district leaders who say they saw inappropriate behavior between Zahari and the student. The filings also include a portion of a transcribed video deposition from an investigator with the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services, in which she believed Jordan Mann, quote, concealed important evidence during the investigation.
But I'm glad that they're finally speaking out, finally getting some attention.
A Rowan County Schools parent, Ellen Gray, is just one of nearly 2,000 to sign a Change.org petition, also calling for Mann's resignation. She hopes students and the community won't stop seeking justice. In Rowan County, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
In response to the student walkout, Superintendent Michael Rowe says in a statement, quote, "We respect our students' right to free speech and civic engagement, and we recognize their desire to make their voices heard." The attorneys representing the victim and her family said in a statement that they did not organize or participate in today's walkout, but said, quote, "Our client's continued hope is that light shed on this case will protect all children moving forward." Water outages are once again impacting parts of Harlan County, and Judge Executive Dan Mosley has declared a state of emergency. County officials say this is different from the water issues folks faced back in the fall and winter. This time it's a major water break along Kentucky 3152. Crews are still working to pinpoint the exact location of the break, which is losing an estimated 8,400 gallons per hour.
It's a reminder of what they dealt with 3, 4, 5 months ago. There's no question. It is extremely frustrating to me as well. You sometimes feel like you make 2 steps forward and take 3 steps back.
The county is distributing water at the Wallens Creek Fire Department while repairs continue. Mosley is asking for additional qualified water personnel to help the Black Mountain Utility District. The clock is ticking. If you are flying on or after May 7th, you will need to have a real ID or other acceptable form of ID in hand. This enforcement deadline has been a long time coming. The Real ID Act was passed 20 years ago. Mariah Congito talked with TSA representatives as more than 60% of Kentuckians are still not in compliance.
1 week from tomorrow, a standard license without that star in the top right corner will not be accepted for domestic flights, and you can expect to face delays when you come to the airport.
Come May 7th, if you don't have your real ID or another acceptable form of ID, you should probably get there closer to 3 hours ahead.
Mark Howell with TSA says nationwide about 81% of people have their real ID. CBS News data confirms only about 36% of all IDs in Kentucky are Real ID compliant.
If you do not have one, you're going to see some additional screening, some delays going through if you have to do additional identity verification.
TSA says you may also face the possibility of not being permitted into the secure area of the airport. Howell says the idea behind the Real ID comes from findings from the 9/11 Commission. In 2005, the Real ID Act was passed.
We had to push it back a couple times due to compliance with some states. Then we hit COVID, and COVID slowed everything down because people couldn't go in and do the in-person interviews.
Neil Starkey says he flies once or twice a month and has had his Real ID for quite some time.
It's much easier to travel. I don't have to carry my passport.
Starkey says he appreciates what airports are doing to increase security measures.
They need a uniform mechanism to know that you're who you say you are.
There are a number of new security features that are on the Real ID that didn't exist on the older IDs. Some holographs, some see-through photos, a lot of things on that new ID that makes it almost impossible to replicate.
Howell says if you don't have a Real ID already, make a plan to get one ASAP. He says before you do that, though, make sure you have all the forms you need for your appointment or you're going to waste that time.
Mariah Cogito reporting. President Trump marked an important milestone today. It's been 100 days since he was sworn in for a second term. He celebrated with a rally in Michigan and new announcements about tariffs. CBS's Erica Brown has more.
And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country.
President Trump marked the 100th day of his second term with a trip to Michigan, home of the U.S. auto industry, as the White House announces it's easing some tariffs on U.S. automakers.
They all want to come back to Michigan and build cars again. You know why? Because of our tax and tariff policy.
The 25% tariff on imported vehicles and auto parts will remain, but automakers won't be subject to the additional tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, and automakers could be eligible for offsets for cars finished in America.
Some economists say President Trump's rollback will give U.S. automakers some relief, but the remaining tariffs will still lead to higher prices for consumers and a drop in auto sales.
Nationally, the economy remains a top concern for consumers. A new CBS News poll found 53% of those surveyed believe the economy is getting worse under President Trump. And most of those polled say the president is focusing too little on lowering prices and too much on tariffs.
Trump's reckless tariffs are going to make high price of groceries, gas, housing, utilities, clothing, electronics, and other essential goods even worse.
Also Tuesday, President Trump announced a series of new fighter jets for Selfridge Air National Guard Base in Michigan.
This will keep Selfridge at the cutting edge of Northern American air power.
The president credited Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer's recent visit to the White House for helping to secure the air base's future. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
President Trump additionally vowed during his Tuesday night remarks to continue to fight against undocumented migrants and to reduce inflation. Governor Andy Beshear is sharing his thoughts on the president's first 100 days in office, along with several other top Kentucky officials. The governor says he's grateful for President Trump's approval of individual assistance after multiple severe weather events, but says he's worried about the status of Medicaid and implications of the president's tariff-heavy economic policy.
It is a trade policy that is hurting what would otherwise be a growing economy, and my hope is they'll take a pause at this 100 days, take a breath, and reverse course.
Republican representative and candidate for U.S. Senate Andy Barr put out an op-ed in support of President Trump's policy, saying in part that so far the president has restored American greatness, secured the nation's borders, strengthened the economy, defended American families, and promoted national values. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, it was opening day for one Southern Kentucky farmers market.
And we're seeing showers and thunderstorms push through eastern Kentucky. When will we get a break? Details coming up.